Today's story comes after The Dragon of Lost Things. It's had many names, and different grandchildren have suggested different ones. Jonah and the Rainbow Suite, amongst others. But it's actually called Uncle Nog's Bag of Tricks. So we're introduced to Uncle Nog, and the dragon makes an appearance. Now, Ellie had not so much a friend, but an acquaintance called Meg. And Ellie's mum one day said, Meg's mum's phoned and she's got to go off to a meeting and Meg is coming round to play. Oh, said Ellie, I don't like Meg, I don't really get on with her. But Mum said, well, I'm sure you can manage for one. Her mum needs a favour and I said that we'd be able to help. Oh, all right then, said Ellie. Meg came over and she went up to Ellie's room and announced all the way up, this is going to be a no boys zone today. We're not going to have any boys to play at all. And Ellie said, well, what about Jonah? I always play with Jonah. Jonah looked a bit disappointed. It's going to be a no boys zone. I don't like boys. Go away, Jonah. You're not coming in here. And with that, she marched into Ellie's room and slammed the door. Jonah looked a bit irritated, a bit frustrated, a bit sad. But he mooched off to another part of the house for the moment. Meg, once she'd got into Ellie's room, and Ellie had to tidy her room in order to have a visitor, instantly went across to Ellie's toy box, tipped it upside down, tipped all the toys right across the floor and climbed into it and pretended it was a canoe and started to paddle it either side. Come and sit in the box and pretend it's a canoe, she said. Ellie said, I spent all morning tidying that and putting all my toys away. Oh, I don't care about that, said Meg. Jonah was a bit cheesed off. He thought, what can I do? Now, what was lucky was that that time of year was the time that Uncle Nog had appeared. Now, Uncle Nog appeared every Christmas with a large rucksack on his back. A rucksack almost as big as you. Almost as big as Uncle Nog, actually. And all sorts of things would appear out of it. Mostly wrapped in socks, but we'll come to that in another story. Jonah went and thought he'd go and see Uncle Nog. He knocked on the door. Hello, Jonah, come in, shouted a voice. How do you know it was me? Said Jonah. Recognise the knock, said Uncle Nog. Got a problem, have you? Well, yes, said Jonah. Ellie's got a friend called Meg to stay and she says it's a no boys zone and she won't play with me. Oh well, said Nog. Would some sweets help? Oh, sweets always help, said Jonah. So Uncle Nog produced a bag of what looked like boiled sweets of all different colours. Here, have these. But don't eat the rainbow-coloured sweet, he said, winking. Jonah knew what that meant. The rainbow-coloured sweet must not be eaten. Otherwise something interesting would happen. What about the other sweets, he said. Uncle Nog said, make sure you think of something nice that's the same colour as the sweet. Jonah thought, that sounds interesting, so he took a green one. Thought, what do I like that's nice, that's green, that's made food? Spinach. He popped the sweet into his mouth. Oh, it tastes, it's a spinach sweet. Uncle Nog said, no, think of something sweet, like grapes or an apple. Oh, said Jonah. And sure enough, it tasted exactly like that. In fact, it tasted like the best possible grape that you could possibly eat. Then he tried a red sweet. What do you think he thought of when he tried the red sweet? And then a yellow one. Well, he wandered off down the corridor towards Ellie's room, knocked on the door. Go away! It's a no boy zone! Yelled Meg. But I only bought a bag of sweets across. I thought you might like to have one. Well, you can come in and give me a sweet and then you can go, said Meg. Said Jonah. But he came in and he said, but don't take the rainbow-coloured one, because it's the only one I've got." Well, you can imagine what Meg did, can't you? She took that rainbow sweet, she licked it, and then handed it across and said, "Here, do you want it back?" "Not now you've licked it," said Jonah. Meg looked triumphant and put the sweet back in her mouth and began to suck it. It wasn't too long before something odd started to happen. Meg's nose started to go green. It started to stretch out and become longer, and so did her mouth. Suddenly there was a ripping noise. She looked down, and a tail had come out, ripping through her pants and her jeans. "No," she said. Rip! 2 small wings appeared through the back of her blouse. "No, what's happened to me?" she said. The nose began to get longer. The skin began to get greener. The skin began to get green scales. Because the mouth was so long and the tongue was so peculiar, Meg could no longer talk properly. She just flapped her little wings, and as her arms grew shorter and shorter and shorter, she hopped around the room, flapping the wings and going. She turned into a baby dragon. Jonah and Ellie laughed, and the more they laughed, the more Meg hopped around and looked irritated. "What are we going to do?" they said. "I know, let's take her to the Dragon of Lost Things. She'll like to see a baby dragon." Meg hopped around and looked horrified even more. But they took her up the stairs, right up to the attic, into the secret passage, along, down through the hatch where the Dragon of Lost Things was. "Oh, you've brought me a little friend," she said. "I suppose this is Uncle Nog's work, is it?" "How do you know Nog?" "Oh, Nog and I go back a long way," said the dragon. And she unfolded her arms around the small dragon that was Meg, who looked very panicky, very worried, and hopped up and down even more, as much as she could do with 2 great dragons' wings around her. The 2 children went off and went to fetch Uncle Nog, who came in through the kitchen door just as they were about to leave through the hatch, and he approached, bowed very low, and said, "Oh, great Queen Dragon, how good it is to see you." And the dragon bowed her head and said, "Great Wizard Nog, how good it is to see you too. I think you'd better do something about this," she said, opened her wings, and the Meg little dragon hopped away, looking very cross. Well, Uncle Nog took out his magic wand, which looked remarkably like a pencil, tapped it on the top of Meg's head, and instantly the wings disappeared. "Oh," she mumbled. She tapped the pencil again, and the tail went. Then he tapped it a 3rd time, and Meg returned to normal. I'm going to tell how you were horrible to me. Look, my clothes are all ripped." "Oh," said Nog, "never mind about that." He waved his pencil again, or his magic wand, and again the clothes returned to normal. "Yes, I'm going to tell my mum. I'm going to tell my mum what you did to me." "What are you going to tell her?" "I'm going to say that Jonah disrupted my game, and he gave me a sweet which made me turn into a baby dragon. And then you took me to a bigger dragon, and you made me sit in here, and you kept me. "Oh, you are you?" "Yes, I am. Now let me out. It's almost time for my mum to come anyway." And Meg fled out through the door, the front door, taking her coat with her, down the drive to the very end where her mum's big 4x4 Range Rover had just appeared. Megan screamed and jumped into the van. Take me away, take me away. They were horrible to me. What did they do? What's horrible? I'm sure they wouldn't be horrible to you. They gave me a rainbow-coloured sweet, and it turned me into a baby dragon, and then they took me to a big dragon. And by the time she'd finished the story, Meg's mum said to her, "Oh, what a lovely imagination you've got. You could be a writer one day, or a storyteller." Meg thought about it, and she was never quite so rude ever again.